Good morning, everybody. It's Kylie Patchett here. Welcome to the Superwoman Secrets webinar. I am so honored to have had some of your time this morning. So we're going to get started. We are waiting for a couple more people to log on, but that's okay. We'll get started right on time. Now, just a few little housekeeping things, I guess. GoToWebinar is able to send me questions if you have any questions. So please, if what I'm saying is not clear or you'd like to have something answered specifically, you can either raise your hand with a little hand in the circle, or you can shoot me a question in the text box there, and you can choose to send that just to me or to the whole audience. So please, as I'm going, ask whatever you need to. So today we are going to speak about Superwoman secrets. First of all, I'm going to talk with you about the 3 most heard health challenges that I have from my health coaching clients. 3 big pieces of information or fundamentals of how to get around those challenges, and also to introduce the only way that you can work with me privately this year. So let us begin. First of all, I would like to say thank you. I know that we are all super busy these days, and for you to actually take time out of your schedule to come and listen to me and the Superwoman Secrets webinar is a real honor. So thank you so much. Now, at this time of a webinar, the expert would usually give you a fancy pants bio. And rather than doing just that, I have decided that we are going to play a game. So rather than me telling you all about my medical background and my holistic health training and integrative nutrition and the fact that I'm a human behavior specialist, I have decided to ask you instead a quiz. Now you can just pop your answers in the answer box there. I'd like you to tell me which one of these things you think is false. So, I used to be a forensic scientist. True or false? I have 2 daughters born 12 months apart. True or false? I am a trained shiatsu therapist. True or false? My favourite place to be is underwater. True or false? I live half of the year in Australia and half of the year in the USA. True or false? So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to decide which one is the false one, and I'm going to then show you my answers. It's a good way of getting to know each other. Okay, so there's a few falses coming in about the forensic scientist. There's also some falses about half the time in the US, half the time in Australia. Yep. Interesting. Okay, a couple more seconds. Pop your answers in and I'll tell you which one's right. All right, here are your answers. I am, in fact, a forensic scientist by training. So just like Abby in CSI, I used to wear a white lab coat. And I have always been very fascinated by the way that the human body works. So forensic for me was a way of understanding the biology of a human being and using my brain to kind of work it out and piece it all together. I have, in fact, been trained in shiatsu therapy and also oriental medicine. So the meridian systems there that you can see, the red and yellow and green and blue circles there, they actually provided for me a very key piece of understanding that health is actually about all of our system. So not just the physical that I worked on in forensic and also later in medical science, but the actual understanding that our true health is mind, body, and soul, and it's all interconnected. So often we'll refer back to my Oriental medicine training because it gives you a really good understanding of how sickness or illness in the body is quite often either caused or causes emotional and spiritual discomfort and dis-ease as well. I do, in fact, love being underwater. My parents used to call me a dolphin, and I do a fantastic dolphin impersonation. So that's something that you didn't know about me, more than likely. The picture up the top there is my beautiful family in the hills of Oregon last year. My husband in the red, our cousin in the black, and my two daughters that are born 12 months apart. So I do, in fact, have two daughters born 12 months apart. So everyone that put in false that I live half the time in the US and half the time in Australia are correct. At the moment, we do live here, but we are moving to the States very shortly. So I'll give you an update on that a bit later. So now you know about me. But more importantly, what about you? Who are you? Now, if you've come today and you've carved out some time in your busy schedule, you are more than likely a superwoman. Now, by superwoman, I mean that you're juggling lots and lots of different things in your life. It could be work and business and family and the never ending to do list. And quite often, if you are a superwoman like that, there are some other things going on. Quite often, there is a feeling like there's no time for you. You may not be in the shape that you would like physically, or you may have some physical symptoms of lack of energy, and you may feel like there's something missing. The big thing today is that you want to get sane and sexy and satisfied permanently right now, and I will be giving you the information to do that. Now, if you are not a superwoman and don't feel like that, you will still get incredible value from this webinar. But if you are a superwoman and identify with any of those problems, you are going to really have some amazing aha moments. So living like a superwoman, what's the result of that? Quite often you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed. Quite often superwomen will be overweight or uncomfortable in some other way in their skin. They're not living the life they desire. They're not having the body that they crave. And there's a massive impact on their relationship with themselves and others. Quite often they will be feeling frustrated, overwhelmed, stuck, and even fearful. So my request today is to be open to some new ways of looking at these things, because holistic health, no, let me first start with normal health. The way that we quite often in Western society think about health is that we pull ourselves apart and we treat our toes separately to our kidneys, separately to our emotional state. What I would like for you to do today is to put on a separate, different pair of goggles. These goggles are going to allow you to be open to new possibilities about the way that you look at yourself, your life, and true health. What I mean by that is that we are actually going to be talking about things from a holistic point of view. So it will be quite different to the one size fits all health advice. And it probably sounds a bit different, but I would like, with your permission, to put those goggles on and go dive into something completely new. So let's talk about the problem first. When I'm dealing with holistic health coaching clients, and they're quite often the superwoman, the busy doing woman, the three top things that they say to me when we first do our breakthrough sessions are, Kylie, I am so stressed. I am so overwhelmed. I've got too much to do. I've got no time. Even their voice gets faster and faster. I'm trying to juggle work and family and my own health, and it's just not working for me. Quite often these women are disconnected from what they really want and what their needs are, and they always say, there is no time to do anything for me. When do I get to do anything for me? For those of you that have just logged on, please just be aware that you can pop any questions as I'm going into the question box, or raise your hand if you'd prefer. So please ask if you need to. So we're just dealing with the problems that my clients quite often present with. So they're stressed out, they're sick of their body in some way. Now, that could be that they are overweight or not in the shape that they physically want to be. Quite often, as well as overweight, they're tired, they've got no energy, they're having huge mood swings from, either flat to really depressed, or, on top of the world one day and really flat the next day. They're uncomfortable in their clothes, and quite often, which is heartbreaking, I hear the language of self-hate, the language of being in body bondage, of not liking yourself. I look in the mirror and I'm disgusted, Kylie. I can't do anything. I don't have any discipline, all of that stuff going on. The third thing is that quite often the message that I get in the first sessions that we do is there's something missing. I'm pissed off. I feel like life is the same old, that one day, merges into the other. There's no joy in my life. There's no sparkle in my life. and I'm really desperately craving a change, but I don't know where the heck to start. And quite often that conversation is either really, really sad, like I know there's something more, but I can't do anything about it, or it's really, really frustrated, like I have had enough and I want to change. So, when we're talking about those three main problems, I want you to, with your new goggles on, feel through whether those problems are a cause or an effect. And what I mean by that is the feeling of stressed out coming from something, or is the feeling of stressed out giving you something? Now, quite often they go hand in hand. So when someone says stressed out and I'm reading between the lines, what I hear in language and what I see over and over again in the way that superwomen go through life is that they are overscheduled. So they're overscheduled to the point where I actually just spoke to a client yesterday and she said, I'm getting up at 6 and I've got things slotted in for every single minute of the day until I go to bed at 10 o'clock. That exhausts me just hearing that, but it is not unusual for these women to feel very, very overscheduled. Quite often, I hear the language of not meeting their own needs. So they have no space for any time out in their lives. They have no space for pleasure. And they also have quite uncomfortable or unhealthy relationships and communication strategies. Now, that begins on the inside. So, quite often, what I hear is the language that I speak to myself is, come on, you can do better. Why can't you do that? You're going too fast, or you're not, you're not doing something the way that you should. So the unhealthy communication strategies start on the inside, but then also are actually played out on the outside. So quite often we have very unhealthy people bringing unhealthy communication strategies home to their partners or to their children. Quite often I hear between the lines unresourceful living, so meeting their needs unresourcefully. And I'll explain that a little bit later in the solutions part. Quite often, these, we all get stuck so much in this busy, busy world on the doing of things. And the busyness, quite often, I find, is a way of disconnecting from feeling. So if I keep myself busy, if I do, I don't have to be. And part of just being is being connected to how you feel. So when I start working with someone and they're saying this type of language, I will quite often go to the human behavior first before we even look at any of the physical health aspects. Also, these ladies are quite often living disconnected from what they want. So quite often I will say to them, what is it that you want from X, Y, and Z? And they will not know the answer. And the reason they don't know the answer is that quite often we spend a lot of time looking outside of ourselves for being filled up rather than living connected to what we really need on the inside. So cause and effect, or cause or effect for sick of body. The obvious answers when someone says I'm overweight or I'm not happy with how I look have always been in the diet and health field, exercise and food. Now, there is no, there's absolutely no question that this has a massive impact on health. However, if you are not working at the deeper level of changing behaviors and understanding where the need for being unhealthy with our eating or being unhealthy with the amount that we move, there is no solution. So, quite often, having sickness in the body is reflective of self hate or self neglect and also negative mindset. Meeting needs unresourcefully again. Quite often, emotional eating or overeating or disordered eating, under eating sometimes, is trying to control or fill a hole and also stifling an emotional eruption. So I'm sure that all of us can relate to that at one point or another, where food or even alcohol or some other unhealthy behavior has been used to fill ourselves up. Often emotional stuff is breeding physical pain, and this is very much to do with not nourishing yourself properly with life. Now, part of having sickness in the body can also be ignorance. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean it in that we have been told so many times externally that the way to get healthy is to follow a certain set of rules or set of, prescribed things. So, for instance, the diet on the latest WHO magazine might be, low carb or low GI or high protein or whatever. And so, in ignorance, we think that's the way to get healthy. But we have completely forgotten that every single person on the planet has different nutritional requirements based on their constitution, their body type, how much they move, where they live, what climate they're in, what their ancestry is. And so the ignorance comes from trying to fit a one size fits all thing. And as I say, one size fits all BS, because it really is BS. Cause or effect for something is missing. This can quite often be related to not knowing what you want. So it's very difficult to give yourself what you need if you don't know what that is. There's a propensity to looking externally for something to fill us up. So feeling like there's something missing, so I have to do something about it rather than being something different on the inside. There's a tendency to have a blame game. And there's a lot of tendency in women, I find again and again, to have a people pleasing strategy. So quite often putting their needs last or low down on the agenda, and going through the motions of being the good girl or the person who's responsible or the person that needs to fix things for other people. This quite often ends up being resentment, anger, and sadness, which is a very, very unhealthy state to stay in, and also a very unresourceful state to live from. There's also a lot of trying to fill the gap. Now, I've spoken about eating and alcohol very quickly about gap filling, but there's also behaviors like creating unnecessary drama to fill the gap in their life. Retail therapy, shopaholics, beating yourself up, so that negative dance that goes on between the two voices in your head. So there's often the cause and effect is, something's missing. I beat myself up and say, oh, I'm so stupid, I can't work this out, or whatever it is that you're saying to yourself. But that creates more of the feeling like there's something missing. So all of these things are staying in problem. So let's talk about solutions. The common denominator of all of these things is living with a superwoman syndrome. So being overscheduled, disconnected, externally living, unconscious, unhealthy, unresourceful, and operating from a space of either self-neglect or self-hate. So they're common denominators, and you do have a choice. So you can choose between all of those things, or you can make the choice to live from a balanced place, connected to self, self-satisfied instead of externally gratification, living consciously, having healthy habits, being resourceful, and practicing what I like to call radical self-respect. So what is radical self-respect? When I work with clients, the deep, deep work that we do is based around the path to self-love and radical self-respect. Now, there is many, many aspects of that journey, and I pulled out the first three that I would deal with to bring someone's awareness to where they're not giving themselves what they need, and to enable them to be able to fix it from a behavior level. Okay, so there's 6 core human needs, the 7 TALLPOPPY principles, and the understanding that you are not your behavior. So I'll go into those in more detail in the next 3 slides. So human drivers are really, really important to understand. The reason for that is that when we understand what our basic needs are, we can decide and make conscious commitment to ourselves to meet them at a resourceful level. So for instance, the 6 core human needs are certainty, uncertainty, significance, love and connection, growth, and contribution. Now, you may have seen these before. They're from Anthony Robbins and Neuro-Linguistic Programming, which I've been trained in. And they're a really good base understanding of one of the ways that you can meet your own needs healthfully, and therefore create a different set of behaviors for yourself. So the 6 core needs, certainty. Now, obviously, some of these are pretty self-explanatory, but certainty is needing routine, knowing, structure, stability. Now, if you have a very high driver for certainty, you can get stuck, bored, get really, really locked down into the routine of things. So you can, these are the people that sometimes say, oh, I'm a control freak. I get really, really down into the nitty gritty, get very, very depressed, very low. So you can see that there's ways of creating certainty in your life and structure that are healthful, and then there's patterns that meet your need of certainty in an unresourceful manner. So as is also the case with uncertainty. So uncertainty, although it sounds like it's mutually exclusive to certainty, it actually isn't. Our drive for uncertainty gives us things like variety, fun, adventure, choices, freedom, all positive things. However, if you have a high drive for uncertainty and you're meeting it not resourcefully, you can find yourself being a shopaholic or a bright, shiny object addict. So always looking for new things, new things, new things, new things. It can lead to promiscuity in affairs, so looking for new partners. It can also be those people that are constantly on the phone or constantly texting, always looking for the next new thing, new thing, new thing. Now, you can see again that you can meet these resourcefully or unresourcefully. Significance is another one. We all need acknowledgement, recognition, and appreciation. However, out of control, this can mean really, really controlling behavior in relationships, bullying behavior. So aggressiveness, jealousy, all of the, those people that always spend time talking about themselves. Now, there is very healthful ways of meeting our need for significance, but you can see how that can impact as well. There's also a high drive for love and connection. So, we have relationships. We're looking for love. We're looking for belonging. We're looking for connection. But you can actually source that by, sleeping around, staying in abusive relationships, always being very highly connected to someone, like, for instance, a child that is very difficult, not able to disconnect from parents as they leave home, or that type of thing. You can find this in becoming withdrawn. Quite often I hear this language when someone says, no one appreciates me, I'm never valued, I'm never heard. There's healthful ways of giving that to yourself, and then there's unhealthy behaviors that come from that. So to be aware of those things is really, really important. And I didn't ask you to actually have a notepad, but you can get the recording of this anyway after this webinar. It's really important to understand what your two most significant human needs drivers are out of this list of 6. And to be happy and centered and therefore create healthful ways of relating to yourself and to other people, you need to be scoring about 8 out of 10 on each of your human needs. So it's very, very important from a superwoman status to understand where you're not actually meeting those needs. So that would be step 1 of getting around the stress and the overwhelm and the being uncomfortable and the lack of satisfaction. The second thing is the daily foundations. Now, these actually were created by myself and a part of the book that I've just released in January. The reason that I created Tall Poppy Principles was that when I began to understand that my creation of myself as fat, depressed, angry, not mothering positively, etc., that I was living in after my father died a couple of years ago, I understood that it was really, really endemically caused by me not giving myself what I needed. And so I created a daily framework for myself. The Tall Poppy Principles are power, plate, people, prosperity, pause, pleasure, and purpose. Now, power is the joy of moving our bodies and not in a prescribed way, finding ways that are very fulfilling and satisfying for yourself. It's also the understanding that all of the energy in our body is either flowing or trapped. And trapped energy creates uncomfortable emotional states, uncomfortable physical states, and can also create disease. So the need for our bodies, and it is a basic human need to move regularly, at least daily, is a really, really important one to embrace. Now, it's not to say that you should go to the gym if that's not your thing. And it's not to say that you should become a yoga crazy person if that's not your thing. But you do need to find ways of moving your body and moving that energy around to create emotional space and unblocking of energy. It's very, very important. Plate is also a big one, of course. It's very important to understand that nutrition does provide the building blocks of our physical health, and to be aware of learning the ability to actually check in with your body and say, okay, yes, I might eat this, but I'm not feeling particularly well on it, and actually changing the behavior. People, again, is connection. Prosperity is having a positive mindset and understanding your worth to receiving abundance. Having pause and pause and pleasure are really important and very, very unnourished in lots of women. taking time out for yourself and actually having pleasure be a daily driver are really important. And I do not mean pleasure as in once a year on holidays or on a Sunday afternoon between 3 and 4. I mean actually understanding that as a human being, and by the virtue of the simple fact that you were born, you deserve to feel good. And a rather important way of feeling good is allowing yourself to feel pleasure. So that's multiple layers. It's everything from intimacy with your partner or yourself all the way to, stopping and smelling the roses, having your favorite cup of tea, making space for yourself to enjoy life. And then underneath everything else and fundamental to your ability to be satisfied by life is living on purpose. So there is no point having a job that does not satisfy your values or your belief systems, or cutting yourself off from the something that you always wanted to do. For me, the something I always wanted to do was to be able to help people by educating themselves that they have power in their health and they have choice. I cut myself off from that by going into a medical corporate background where it was all about money. And that was the most unhealthy and most unsatisfied I've ever been in my life. So purpose is really, really important. Now, I will be sending everyone that's on the call today and all the registrants the TALLPOPPY profile so that you can work on this yourself as well. Now, underneath both of these things is understanding that you as a person are not your behavior. A lot of diet and exercise programs are based on the need to have a framework that is one size fits all and it's rules based. The problem with that is there's no point me saying to you, stop eating chocolate and go to the gym every day, if the behavior and the strategies that you have formulated based from your beliefs and your values and your past experiences actually come from three very deep roots. So when you're talking about a health program or a diet where you're actually just being rules based and it's all, prescriptive, think of it as a tree, and that is dealing at the leaf level. So we're looking at the leaf, the external factors, and trying to change those. The problem with that is that the leaves of the tree are connected to branches, connected to a trunk, and right down underneath the ground, at the underneath level of that behavior that currently says you're eating too much chocolate and not moving, is that you are not able to. Sorry, there's actually a little note here saying that my audio quality is degrading. So if you cannot hear me, can you please let me know and I will have a play around. Sorry about that. The behaviors are always coming down to three common fears. And if we're not working on the deep roots of the issues at the beginning of the problem that come from I'm not loved, I'm not worthy, or I do not belong, there is very, very difficult to make long-term change. And that is something that I'm very, very passionate about, because if you're not working at the root of the problem, it doesn't matter what I ask you to do as a coach or what that gym instructor does or what you want yourself to do. If you have not dealt with the behavior and the beliefs underpinning it, you are not going to be able to create sustaining long-term change. Now, I was going to talk about a case study, but we are actually running a little bit tight on time. So I'll just do this quickly. Lara, which is obviously not her real name, was a client of mine that came to me in about July last year. She's 39. She had two little children, one who was about 9 and one that was entering teenagehood. She was a PR manager in a very big corporation in Sydney. She initially came to me because she was overweight, pre-diabetic, and very, very stressed. And those were the physical symptoms. But underpinning all of that was this very, very huge need to act from a very masculine, very controlling angle, both in the work environment and also in her home environment. And that obviously had huge impact on her relationship with her husband, with her children, and also fundamentally with herself. So when I first spoke to Lara and we had our half-day breakthrough session, she was expecting me to give her a structure based on food and exercise. And what I did instead was actually took her right down through her behaviors and asked her what she got from all of these things that she had identified that she was doing that she would like to change. Now, we worked together for 6 months. And the end point was that not only did Lara drop 2 dress sizes, seemingly without even trying, because we actually designed a life that filled her up instead, she actually had much better relationship with her husband and was able to bring out her achievement and push and drive in the work environment but was able to relax into being, receptive to love and connected to her family in the home environment. And it was a beautiful, beautiful thing to watch. And this is the type of thing that dealing with the root cause of behavior can actually give someone. So, what could be possible for you? What could be possible if you learnt to listen to your intrinsic needs and to be able to interrupt the behaviors that you wanted to change? You would be able to be calm and grounded, take control of your life, lose weight if that's what you would like to do, gain self esteem, feel sexy and confident, love yourself silly and trust yourself more, and become sane, sexy, and satisfied. So, how do we do that? Well, in fact, the Tall Poppy project was begun because I saw a huge gap between what the market was providing as far as health advice was going and what I knew to be true from my own personal journey and also from long, long term in medical health and also in Eastern philosophies. So, why do diets and health programs not work? As we've discussed, it's a one-size-fits-all formula. A plus B must equal C, except that C does not fit you because what I need is going to be different to you and to everyone else on the call. Because they work on the surface of the behavior, they don't address the root causes, and so you can have results, lose weight, get less stressed or whatever in a period of time, but quite often, because the behavior has not been changed, it will actually lapse, and it will lapse irresistibly. So it's almost like we get this feeling is, thank you for letting me know about my audio quality. Okay, I'm not really sure what to do about that cutting in and out, so I'm hoping that the recording will be okay. So they're only addressing one part of the picture. There's no body, mind, and soul connection, and there's also no accountability. Why do my programs work? The reason why these work is that they're tailor-made to the person. They have a rules-free philosophy. They're holistic, body, mind, and soul. They address the root causes and empower behavior change rather than dealing with the surface stuff. And you learn radical self-respect. So the big thing that I intend for people to walk away with is the ability to understand themselves, give themselves what they need, and identify any behaviors that are not positive and be able to change them. You also receive my personal care and connection. I am very, very invested in every single client that I help because I have felt the pain of living in a life and a body that does not fit, and it is completely not necessary. Just looking at some questions here. All right, awesome. Okay, so how does a Tall Poppy 12-week transformation work? It's a week-by-week structure. I am really, really keen on avoiding overwhelm because that is a superwoman tendency. We only focus week by week on having you master the lost art of self-awareness and self-mastery. It includes cutting-edge holistic health and mindset coaching with myself. It is specifically designed for women who have a big vision for their health and happiness and life. It is not for everyone, this program. It is for people that are serious about creating change and creating it now in a big way. I only take a small and exclusive group of clients each intake. The next intake starts on March the 18th. It doesn't mean that you're working in a group. It's just that because I work in these sections, they actually open at particular times in the year. And it is the only way this year to work with me personally. So what does it include? It includes an amazing, even this alone is life transforming because we get to sit together. Now, if you're local to the Sunshine Coast, this is in person. If not, it is actually by Skype or by GoToWebinar, which is just as effective. It's a half-day session with me, and it includes a detailed holistic health profile, including all the physical aspect and emotional aspects of everything, Tall Poppy profile, the core needs assessment, which is a very, very huge self-awareness indicator, human behavior profiling. We use neuro-linguistic programming techniques to mess and scratch up any of the yucky behaviors that we don't want to be expressing anymore. And then at the end of that session, I will go away, and about 1 week later, you actually get a personalized step-by-step 12-week health breakthrough blueprint, completely personalized to you based on your goals. It also includes monthly one-to-one mindset and health coaching sessions with me. Again, these are either by phone or by Skype. The reason that we've done this is that not only have you got the blueprint, but it's an ability to go, holy crap, this is not working. I want to break through this and to give you the tools to bust through behaviors immediately and reset your mindset. That is a huge aspect of health transformation. You also get weekly lessons in video and audio format. I did this because some people love to see my silly dances on video because they're visual learners, and others would prefer to plug it into their iPod and listen to me. The reason we did this was not only do you have the blueprint, but you're also going to have this backbone of core understandings of your behavior and health behaviors that are positive, and it includes templates and resources so that each week you'll have action. I check in once a week for accountability, and that gives results, and it works every single time. I've also included a one-day food for food nutrition workshop. And again, if you're not local to the Sunshine Coast or are not wanting to travel to the Sunshine Coast, we do live stream these so that you can join us online and see everything that's going on, ask questions, interact, etc., which is actually rather fun. Oops, keep flicking. The reason that I did a food for food nutrition workshop is that there's so much stuff that has been attached to food that quite often we get ourselves tripped up with, oh, that's bad, that's good, that's etc. So not only do I step you through how to identify what feels good for your body, we actually go through how to plan and how to understand the fundamentals of healthful eating so that there's no sort of, oh, I forgot to do that, so therefore I had no other options, because this failing to plan is planning to fail, as we all know. We also have a one-day mindset mastery human behavior workshop. Now, that's a picture of a workshop that I did last year. The whole point of these workshops is that you get an understanding of what causes you to do certain things, but also to create relationships and connections with other women that are going through similar journeys. We all know that accountability and community is a huge part of creating change. I've also put in 3 bonuses. One of the things that I love to do as a health coach is identify people that have specific genius in one area of health and interview them to create amazing content for my clients. So I have people like sexual health educators, mindset experts, manifestation stars, Erin Stutland there from New York. A lot of these people I've met in my travels in New York City. Creativity coaches, beautiful Kim Morrison, who's a local person who is a lifestyle, women's health and lifestyle educator, personal trainers, mindset coaches, financial health coaches, beautiful astrologers, spiritual people. The reason I do this is because if I go through a one-day breakthrough, a half-day breakthrough with you, and we really identify that you want to work on a certain thing, these are the tools to be able to give you even more information and more in-depth information in audio form so that you can pop it into your iPod or in the car and learn as you go. We've also got meditation tracks for stress reduction and weight loss, because the power of speaking to the unconscious mind, even if you sleep through the whole track, is amazing and should not be undervalued. And we also have a bonus copy of my book, The Tall Poppy Project. So that is what's included in a transformation package. So let's go back to the very beginning where I shared part of me. One of the reasons that I called my business The Tall Poppy Project was because I really understood that, there's this colloquial thing that when people stand up and say, I want this, or I can do this, or whatever, we have this propensity for, and I say we, in the royal we, have a propensity for wanting to knock them down. The Tall Poppy Project was a really huge tipping of my hat, not only to my dad, who was long-term Army, but also to the fact that us as women have a massive ability to impact not only our own lives, but many lives connected to us. Being a tall poppy, in my eyes, is standing tall in the amazing gifts that you have, expressing your purpose, being fully expanded, and playing a big game so that you are able to give permission to other women to do the same. The only way to do that, the only way, is to treat yourself with radical self-respect and deep self-love, and understand that the behaviors that lead to unhealthful relating, stress, being overweight, and being dissatisfied are the blocks to you living your dream. They are the hurdles. And if we can get over those hurdles, or when we get over those hurdles, you can express whatever the heck you want. Now, that bottom picture is a picture that I took driving for the first time into the Oregon snowfields. By the end of this year, my dream of creating travel and freedom and independence for my family through my business and through helping other people find health and happiness will be a reality. By December this year, we will have 2 bases and we will be living half the time in Australia and half the time in Oregon. What that has meant for me is that in 2 years using these principles, I have gone from fat, angry, depressed, pissed off, and having no place in the world to being able to create my dream. So I ask you now, what is your dream for your life and your health? And imagine having someone like me who is able to hold your hand and create the long-term life and health transformation that will enable you to express that dream. My area of genius is calling people on their bullshit, and I say that with the deepest respect. I understand personal bullshit and limiting beliefs because I had so many of them myself. And the beautiful thing about what I do is that we are able to change mindset and behavior so that you can do whatever the heck you want to. And that is a beautiful thing. So what's it worth to you? Your health and happiness, your ability to rock the body that you desire, or the desire that you rock, whichever, your ability to live the life that you deeply crave, your self-esteem, your relationship with your partner and your children, the sure knowledge that you are worth it, do belong, and are loved. What is that worth to you? And what is not taking care of your body, soul, and mind costing you? In conclusion, the 12-week Tall Poppy transformation includes a half-day breakthrough with me, monthly mindset and health coaching calls, weekly lessons in video and audio format, weekly action and accountability, including templates and resources, a huge series of hand-selected interviews and meditations, and a bonus book. And together, that provides the framework for long-lasting, life-transforming change. The investment in this is $3,500 or a payment plan across 3 months. And what I didn't put on the screen is there's also a 6-month payment plan. Sorry, that's my mistake. When I talk to clients at the end of a 3-month transformation package, one of the ladies that I did my final session with the other day said to me, Kylie, when I first saw that price, I thought, holy crap, that's a lot of money. And then I decided to write a line in the sand and invest in myself and trust in the fact that you understood where I was coming from and you'd lived through changing yourself, so I believed you could change me. When I asked her the other day whether she thought that the $3,500 was worth it, she said, I would pay 3 times that, Kylie, because you've given me my life and you've given me my health and you've given me my family back. That makes me actually quite emotional. The point is that it's not me doing anything. All I'm doing is shining the light on people's brilliance and their ability to rock an amazing freaking life, because by virtue of the simple fact that you were born, you deserve to feel that good. Participation in the Tall Poppy transformation is by application only. I only accept people that are a direct match for health coaching. I will never ever accept anyone that I do not feel I have the ability to help. You can apply at kyliepatchett.com/apply. I will be sending the details by email, so you can click on the link as well. All you need to do when you apply is answer the questions and submit your application, and you'll then receive a personal phone call from me. What we do from there is arrange a complimentary holistic health review, which takes about 45 minutes by phone, and is an ability for us to understand whether you're a match for me and I'm a match for you. It's really, really important that you understand that by applying, you are not committing to the program. You are going to the next step of saying, yes, Kylie, I think I'm ready to invest in myself. I just have a few last questions, or I just want to experience you one-on-one. Questions can include, how can I apply? What's the process? How do I know if I'm a match? All of those things will be in the information that I send, but you can apply by going to kyliepatchett.com/apply. You will know if you're a match by doing the complimentary health review that we will book from there. You are not obligated to commit to a 12-week program just from having the complimentary call. The next intake for the 12-week program does start on March the 18th, so in a little over a week. I will be closing applications on the 14th to allow me time to actually do those sessions. The location and the dates I will also talk you through in that health review session. Remember too that you do not have to be local to the Sunshine Coast. We can live stream and do online coaching very easily. In fact, I actually coach people all around the world at the moment. So let's go back to the Superwoman. The Superwoman that we all have in our heads of the constantly juggling, always under pressure, always reacting is very different to this woman here. I believe being a superwoman is truly being a goddess of self-determination, being proud, having courage, having radical self-respect, understanding your gifts in the world and standing up for them 100%. Being a goddess of self-determination is about being fully expressed and fully expanded and not keeping yourself small by deciding that you're not worth investing in, you're too fat, you're too stressed, you're too dissatisfied to change things. You absolutely can change things. Health is the greatest possession, contentment is the greatest treasure, and confidence is the greatest, I can't read it. Confidence is the greatest friend. How funny. I would love to be part of your success team to get health, contentment, and confidence. I thank you very much for investing time in your day and coming to listen to the Superwoman Secrets webinar. And I encourage you to apply for part of the 12-week transformation at kyliepatchett.com/apply. Do we have any questions before I log off and let you go on your beautiful, merry, delicious life ways? Okay, there's a question here about time frame. The reason that I do intakes is because I have certain times when I intake for the next 3 months. It doesn't mean that I can only do that time, but the next intake does start on March the 18th. And the reason I do that is just so that we can basically put people's skin in the game very soon. If you've made a commitment to change something about yourself, the best way to start on that is to take action immediately. Because the more you think about it, the more of the underpinning behaviors that got you there will actually have in your mind going, oh no, I can't do that. It's too much money, or I haven't got enough time, or whatever. So please, if you're interested in changing things about your life that you don't want anymore, apply now and let's get into action and change them. Thank you so much for joining us. There is no other questions that I've had typed in. This will be a recording, so it will be sent to your inbox. And please go ahead and have a beautiful, beautiful day. Bye-bye.